Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. This is Daryl and I'm going to give you a quick rundown of our lineup for today. We're going to take a look at some Husker sports. The ladies have an upcoming game at number 9 Maryland. We'll discuss some football transfer portals and some recruiting gets the Husker football team have gotten recently. We're going to break down the previous week's NFL playoffs. The Saturday game will be the Jaguars at the Chiefs. The late Saturday game will be the Giants at the Eagles. Looking at the Sunday games, we'll have the Bengals at the Bills. And the late Sunday game is the Cowboys at the 49ers. Switching gears, we're going to take a look at some NBA games. Thursday night's game will be the Warriors at the Celtics. The late Thursday night game will be the Nets at the Suns. The interesting thing about the Warriors, they will have a back-to-back because on Friday, the Warriors will be at the Cavaliers. And then we'll take a look at the Tuesday game for the Celtics at Miami. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. We've got
Roger here.
All right. We've got
James. Morning.
Yeah, they call me Daryl sometimes, among other things. And let's talk about the Husker ladies last night just a little bit. They were at Purdue. They were down most of the game. I was flipping back and forth between that and the men's. The Purdue ladies are good. They're 12-6, 3-5 in the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten is really stout for the Husker women this year. I mean, for the Big Ten ladies basketball, what I mean.
It's early and cold.
It is early and cold, and I haven't had enough coffee yet. But they actually came back, and they didn't win it until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So they won 71-64, which was a huge feather in their cap to move forward to push them closer to the Big Ten tournament.
And they ended like on a nice little defensive hold and scoring streak. I mean, obviously they were scoring to keep the thing, but they were stopping Purdue and then going right back on the other end and getting the offensive rebound or basket running the clock. So the win that I saw is way to close out a game. When you're in a 1-point game, stops, obviously, I'm just saying the norm, but the stops on the one end, but then running clock and getting basket on the other end. I mean, getting stops, if you're not putting a biscuit in the basket either, you're just still one shot, like the men, you're one shot away from overtime or losing, so.
Jazz Shelley didn't have her 4 points until her last 2 trips to the foul line.
They say she hadn't scored all game, and here she goes to the foul line, and I'm like, oh my. And they had a chance to win the game, and they did, with her having a really bad game, which is huge.
Markowski, 10 rebounds, 19 points, another double-double for her. Maddie Kroll, holy crap, that girl! It still stings for the Huskers to have lost our starter from injury.
Yeah, the knee.
Yeah, but Maddie Kroll stepping up. The true freshman, Callan Hake, stepped up. She had 8 points. Sam Hyvee had 14. Maddie Kroll had 15 off the bench. So Jazz Shelley went over for the whole game until the last 2 minutes, basically. Yeah. So the whole rest of the team had to step up. And I really enjoyed the fact that she was kind of the facilitator. She did have 3 assists and 5 rebounds. So their next game, I've got volleyball in the brain. I said next match. Number 11, Maryland, January the 22nd.
That'll be nice.
Now, this is a fun one. So Big Ten Plus, or if you're in the Lincoln Watch area, or you can get to a web page, Nebraska Public TV is going to carry it. I'll leave a link on the YouTube so you can get to Nebraska Public TV. Husker men played last night as well. And
this game was 21-20 at halftime. I mean, I don't know how many people fell asleep in that first half, but I think I might have if I wasn't at work. I saw we got to lunch and I was like, of course it's halftime, so I can't watch the game. And I'm like, dude, this game's 21-20 time to time. 21-20. Oh my. I said, are we playing Virginia basketball where we just dribble around for 38 seconds and then we throw up a shot? So I have no idea how the first half went. Obviously, second half, they doubled their scoring output, and it was a lot better game, it looks like.
So, crazy defensive battle. We ended up coming out on top 60-63. I feel we could have done a little bit better, but when you're on the road, Ohio State did a really good job of keeping it close. And there for a second, I was really worried that we were going to drop another one, but we didn't. And I think that's huge for us to take one on the road.
No, they were at home.
Gosh, I'm confused. I'm flipped.
Yes, the women are on the road.
Yep, I need more coffee, don't I?
Right. Yeah, and Ohio State, the fifth straight loss. So I was hoping they didn't right the ship against us. Once again, though, we're giving up a lot of rebounds. They did actually out-rebound 39-38, but Nebraska just constantly gives up reboundings and rebounds. That's one thing they got to shore up. And at the end, like you said, they could have had a 5-point lead, maintained it. They just made some bad shots, turnovers. Ohio State had a great look at a three from their second best shooter. Luckily, it went in and out, or there'd been overtime, and obviously, who knows what happens in overtime. But that shot,
we missed it by that much.
Yeah, good look, right on the spot. He gave a pump fake, and Kreisel flew right by him. 1.3 on the clock, and he just, nice smooth release. I said in and out, and thankfully it didn't go in. It's huge for Nebraska, stay above 500. And I mean, man, every time I think they get a momentum game, it doesn't. But they definitely need to carry that defense over.
To escape with a win at home when two of the Ohio State Buckeyes had double doubles, 10 rebounds apiece for them. That Bryce Sensabaugh and Key. Sensabaugh had 18 points and Key had 11. So I think that's amazing. And we out-rebounded them once, which possibly could have been the key factor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much on these games, but I did watch a little bit of a basketball game. I believe it was Tuesday night. It was a game between San Jose State and New Mexico. It was on Fox Sports. And they had, this is some locker room access game, they called it. And they had a camera pretty much on the coaches the entire game. It's just like a split screen showing the game and then showing the coaches on the sideline. Even at halftime, they went in to the locker room and had a camera on the coach's speech during halftime. And I thought, I don't know. I watched it and I went, it just don't look real. Because, I mean, as a coach, this is going on. So now you got to watch your P's and Q's.
Yeah, you have to edit your vocal. Right.
I mean, yeah. They were calling refs over and going, come here. He grabbed his arm. That was a foul. You missed that one. And I'm like, that ain't how they act.
and they know this because we've said this, when you have the players, when they get mic'd up, I'm like, they know they're mic'd up. So they edit. It's like having mom over for dinner and all of a sudden there's no F-bomb, which is what it should be. But so they know I'm mic'd up. So I can't yell at the ref like, dude, you're an idiot. What are you, blind? You can't see, And it's, hey, man, a
guy got fouled. I mean, he did. I mean, he literally grabbed his arm, but the guy flopped like he got shot. And so they called him a technical for flopping. And the coach was like, he got fouled, man. He got fouled. He was, I understand he probably shouldn't have flopped, but he got fouled. And I was just like, no. That I don't like this at all. That's not real.
Two ideas come to mind from this. So if they had him mic'd up and camera the entire time, imagine what would have happened if they would have done that with Bobby Knight.
All right.
And then imagine what they would have gotten from Bo Pelini when he was head coach here if they would have done that.
Yeah, that never would have. Bobby Knight would have been like, get away from me.
Right.
I know.
How many coaches do they go through before they get a yes? I mean, you're all the way down to a San Jose game that's probably not even have a whole lot of viewership to begin with. But I'm guessing a lot of the other head coaches, Self and all them guys are like, no, man. Hey, you're playing K-State today. Do you mind being mic'd up? That'd be great.
Yeah.
No, it's probably best if I'm not mic'd up for the K-State game. And obviously they lost that one. So, you don't want to be hearing those calls.
Yeah. The coaches were Richard Pitino, which is Rick Pitino's boy.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the other one was...
So it was a publicity stunt.
Yeah, and the other one was Tim Miles.
Oh, yeah. So you can't get more calm than this. Yeah. So again, they picked their audience. So they're like, we even Coach K, hey, it's Coach K, North Carolina. Do you mind if we mic you up and see the insight?
So hearing the names, this was their way to get their name out there. Like, hey, we're back in coaching again. Remember us? Hey, we'll come to your school next as a coach.
Yeah.
Next up for the men Huskers, they will be on the road, 12-6 Penn State, January 21st. That is a Big Ten Network game, 1:15 start time.
Hey, on a side note, this day in history for college basketball, 1974. Notre Dame beat UCLA 71-70 at home at South Bend to end the longest win streak, 88 games. Until this day, 1974.
Wow.
So, Notre Dame finally put an end to the long-running, and I mean, obviously they're still going to win a few more, but that's longest win streak in college football or basketball came to an end today. So, just want to tie that in with a little basketball there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to the world of football here in a little bit, but since Tom Brady got an exit from the playoffs early, I'm going to give you a Tom Brady quote.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes some of the toughest things you deal with end up being the best things because you realize the people that you can rely on, that you love, and support you through it. I thought that was funny because I'm sure he said that when he was still with Giselle.
That's exactly what's going through my head.
So he gets booted from the playoffs and he doesn't have Giselle. I'm sure he's not lonely.
I'm sure he's not.
But in the realm of football, the Huskers, I saw a little bit of news. I don't have all of it. We got a offensive line transfer from Stanford, which I think is huge. Offensive tackle Walter Rouse committed to Nebraska. And then we have a bunch of in-state commits that are going to be walk-ons, which I think is huge that we have in-state walk-ons being a focus again. And then another one, you guys mentioned the Georgia linebacker.
Yep.
MJ Sherman.
MJ Sherman. And I mean, I want to get excited about him. He went to Georgia as a 5-star recruit, and really he saw special teams. He's leaving Georgia as a 3-star. I'm hoping he can find his fire here. We can tap into his athleticism that got him a 5-star. So, not to say take away. I mean, it's a good big thing for us. Getting a big player from a program like that. Maybe he fires up some guys on defense. But I just don't want everybody thinking that we're getting a 5-star linebacker out of Georgia. We're getting a 3-star that played mostly special teams and a handful of defensive snaps alone. And that was, I'm sure, on games out of hand. Another one we got who will be interesting is a wide receiver, Billy Kemp from Virginia. He's only 5'9", 170, so I'm thinking a slot guy, but he's supposed to be pretty shifty, above average hand. So, if we can replace that slot with Palmer being gone, with a true slot.
Yeah, Amendola wasn't that tall, and he made a great receiver. And who
Robinson
had. Who was the LSU kid that just declared for the draft that we had for... We passed to every down, and now I can't think of his name, but he wasn't the tallest kid in the world.
Trey Palmer.
There you go, Trey Palmer. Palmer wasn't the tallest guy.
He had to move around everywhere. But now if we can have if this Billy Kemp comes in and is that solid of a receiver, you have a set slot guy, could be huge. So, I really like when I saw him, hopefully maybe another 10 pounds of muscle. But, they're making some moves. I like it. The portal definitely makes the world of football interesting.
And Rule adding one of the premier Texas high school coaches on his staff is a little bit of I think, a win for us because that opens up a lot of recruiting in Texas.
And he got the president of the high school football operations down there. I forget her name right now because I really suck with names anyway, but she was literally the president of the high school football association down there for the entire state. And she's not going to be a coach, but she's going to, her and this other dude is going to be helping with the managerial side. which I think is huge because, again, who has better ties with all those coaches than someone that was the president of all of them?
Yeah. Chief of staff or whatever they call her.
Yeah.
Whatever that title is. Yeah.
So huge. Yeah. Open that up. Let's go.
Carrying on to football, we're gonna recap some NFL games. I want to kick it over to
what a bunch of good games.
Yeah. Roger, which one was your favorite?
Cowboys beating Brady.
Oh, so
I mean, we all saw how bad of a team Tampa Bay was.
Oh, horrible.
Oh, they're terrible. I mean, and the only thing is the Cowboys scored like they can score. They scored their 30 points, and that was enough to beat Tampa Bay. These other teams would score 17 or 20, and then Tom Brady would score 2 touchdowns late and win. And that's how they got in the playoffs, by winning, 3 or 4 games like that. It was just, Tampa Bay was a very, very bad team.
Their defense kept them in a lot of those games you talked about, but their defense couldn't control Dak and Pollard and all those guys that night. So that was huge.
The only thing their defense did prevent was extra points.
Yeah. Wow. Wasn't that something? You almost cried for that kid. That was insane. Missing 4 extra points. But they won.
Yeah.
Just think if they would have lost.
Yeah. And Jerry Jones said that. He goes, early, I was wondering if they were going to come back to haunt us, and then I just forgot about it. Because obviously Dallas kept scoring and they didn't. So that was huge.
4 extra points. The kid wanted to crawl in a little hole himself, but he kept on going, and they ended up pulling him when it was 4th and short within field goal, and then they scored on the next play a touchdown. So it worked out well.
Did you guys notice on the 5th touchdown that they were like recapping the last play while he was kicking that field goal?
Right. Yeah,
and the ball, when they showed it, the ball was going through the uprights. It's like they kept the camera off of him until he actually kicked the ball. Yeah. And then they tuned in real quick and said, "Oh, he made it." And I'm like, I wonder if they did that on purpose. I'm like, he don't know that, but I mean, still, it's just funny how that happened.
Did you see the amount of LED lights behind the goalposts? So did that mess with him a little bit?
It might have. Yeah, I have no idea.
It's all red.
Yeah. It's still, he was 50 of 53 this year.
Oh, I get that.
On the season.
No, I get that.
And I would just think that it wasn't their first night game.
No.
But you're right. A light in the wrong spot, or, then put me on the other hash, because he gets to pick where, if he wants the hash or middle, left, right, or middle on an extra point. It's not like, that's where the ball's set at. So he could pick. And I'm wondering if there's an injury that he's not listing or letting the team know, because they're mostly are pushed. Like he's not getting a follow through, like it's a hip or a thigh thing. And then the second one there, he overcompensated. Because if you go back to the Washington game, it was 5 in a row, because that was only the one touchdown. He missed that extra point. And then the first 4 of the Tampa Bay game. So he technically missed 5 extra points in a row. And 4 of the 5 were pushed to the right. And he had the one that he looked like he tried to really pull it, and he hooked it left. So, and I'm watching the Manning cast, and when he misses the second one, when he goes to kick the third one, Payne's like, why are we kicking? Why are we kicking a field goal? Just go for 2. And this is that whole camera catches Dak, slam his helmet down, and why didn't we go for 2, blah, blah, blah. I totally agree with McCarthy. You need this guy to get some kind of confidence, right? You need to let him, it's like basketball. It's like Seth Curry missing 7 threes in a row. Why is he shooting again? He needs one to go in. And sometimes it's just that one. So hopefully this last field goal, extra point that he made, kind of is like, oh, okay. And we'll obviously have to wait and see this week what comes up. But I agreed with kept trying to kick him and not go for 2, because you need your kicker to be right in the head.
So the one thing that I wanted to bring up about that game is I'm glad Tampa got away from the run. Rashad White ended up with 5.9 yards a carry, and for a while I was concerned, like, oh my gosh, if they just continue with this, they're gonna beat him, eat up some clock. But they didn't. Brady ended up throwing 66 times. Why would you get away from the run when you have a guy averaging 5.9 yards a carry?
And So during that cast, the Manning cast, even Dion, one of their drives where they drive down the field mostly running the ball, a little mix, I guess it's probably 50-50 mix, but he throws a pick in the end zone, right? And Dion comes out and says, you ran to get down there and then you threw it 4 straight times or 5 straight plays. And then you throw it in there. He says, why would you get away from the run?
Doesn't make sense.
Right. And like you're saying, if you have White, who obviously way better running back than Fournette, kind of like the Zeke Pollard thing. Yeah, why do you get... And then they weren't even that far behind. They still had a chance. And they abandoned the run way too early.
You eat the clock. You keep it out of Dak's hands. You keep it out of Pollard's hands.
Give you a defensive rest. Yeah, I thought that was great.
I put that on the head coach and the play calling because they had what it took to continue with the run. Didn't make sense to me.
And that interception too, that's just a mistake Brady does 100%. Not make.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, what was he doing there? I don't, that.
Yep. The 2 quarterbacks, Eli and Peyton, if you're throwing it away, you throw it away to the third row. What was that? There wasn't even a receiver there.
I'm laughing because when that happened, I text James about it because he's slapping himself in the face mask when he did it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Brady, you knew it. Yeah. But why did you do it? My response, Tom said a bad word.
Yeah. There was a few plays, too, where Tom was just complaining. And I'm like, dude, you threw it at his feet 5 yards in front of him. Yeah. Why are you complaining?
I wanted you to call pass interference, please. Yeah. Call holding. Yeah. I need some help.
And then I thought, well, maybe he was mad at his offensive lineman for not blocking. But, I mean, as soon as he threw it, he just was mad. And I'm like, Brady, come on. I understand that you're a great quarterback, but not every mistake is not your fault. Some are your fault.
So last week when we talked about the game, I picked the Bucs because their last couple of games, him and the receivers were getting on the same page and were finding the grooves, threw for 400 yards, 380 yards, touchdowns. This game, and I like to hope it was the Cowboys corners that threw the timing off, that cut off routes, and that forced that frustration when Brady's throwing the ball like, dude, you need to be here. You're too deep. Or, I'm hoping it was a Cowboys defense because that'll make me feel better about this week coming up. But yeah, if it was just them and the receivers not on the same page again, then that their bad play made Dallas look better than what they were. So I'm hoping it was a defense. I mean, we won't know obviously because Brady's not going to tell us, but it'd be interesting to know if it was a Dallas defense that got him out of timing.
Yeah, it looked bad. And Roger hit the nail on the head. He's still a great quarterback because he ended up throwing for 66 times and had more yards overall than Dak. But when you don't balance it, when your actual running back is doing better than you, gaining yards, eating up clock, that's on the coach.
Yep.
Or the coach not sticking up to Tom going, hey, we got to get away from that game plan you have. Any of the other games that happened the other day that we want to talk about?
I love that they were all a game. So the first 2 we had on Saturday, the Seahawks 49ers, was a good game. Seahawks got all the way inside the red zone, turned the ball over, and then the floodgates opened for the Niners and the game was over.
Yeah, Seattle was winning by 1 at halftime.
Yes.
Yeah, 17-16, okay. Yep.
So, and then you flip to the Jaguars-Chargers game where it's 27-0. You're like, okay, well, this game's over, blah, blah, blah. Then you come back and you're like, oh my. So, and that was more of a second half game, 49ers game. You got to watch the first half. But for, obviously we picked the Chargers, thought that they had it. When they're up that 20, I was like, okay, hey, they don't have all their weapons. They're playing good defense, making us. And then again, Bosa, a couple bad personal foul calls, penalties, got Jaguars momentum. The crowd started getting backed into it. And then all of a sudden, you have a guy that throws 4 picks in the first half, 3 in the first quarter. And then in the second half is a totally different guy. And he looked amazing. The defense obviously had to get their stops, but he didn't disappoint. Every time they went to the sideline and put him back on the field, he drove them down the field and got a score. Thank you for getting the stop. Let me get my score.
Yeah. Jaguars held them to 3 points in the second half.
It was crazy. And another interesting stat for you is now, what is his name?
Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence, thank you.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is 34-0 on Saturdays in the pros and college football.
For me, my takeaway was the difference again in running. Chargers just pitiful, 67 yards, and the Jaguars ended up with almost 120.
Yep.
And that was a difference of 1 point for the whole game.
And that's a team that was down 27-0.
Yeah.
Stuck with it. And here you have the Tampa game that it wasn't even that bad yet, and you went away from it.
And Trevor Lawrence went 44. 4 interceptions, 4 touchdowns.
Right.
And wins. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, Taylor 2 halves, obviously.
Yep.
But I hope the Chargers stay with Staley. He's got some learning plans. He's really young. He's really aggressive coach. You need to get Herbert some love on that offensive line.
Oh, my gosh.
And his receivers just don't stay healthy. They didn't have Mike Williams again.
Well, how many times was Herbert hurt this year?
I think just the one, but for a few games.
Yeah. So, I'm agreeing with you.
Right. Yeah. But the other day, that line, if you can get a running game, I like Eckler. Huh? Eckler. Thank you. I like him. I know he's undrafted. He's strong and he runs hard, but you got to give him some running things. You got to at least give him a little bit of a hole to get through. Give him a fullback,
Yeah, you got sacked 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you don't have the time to do anything, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, that 49ers team, they scored 41 points. They scored the most points of all the teams this weekend. Brock Purdy pretty much had the best game of all quarterbacks except for maybe Prescott. I mean, that 49ers team is rolling. And if they're scoring 30, 40 points a game, I don't see how they lose. I just, that's pretty impressive. Brock Purdy's playing really, really well. And that Chargers game, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know how you blow 27-point lead, but we see it more and more all the time. It's happened a couple of times this year. Well, we saw the NFL record this year, and of course, you go back to the Super Bowl with Atlanta blowing that big lead. And even just more recently, the Chiefs blew an 18-point lead to the Bengals in AFC Championship last year. Yeah. So
perfect.
It's just, you're in the playoffs. You're not supposed to be blowing them type of leads.
And I don't have any statistical stats and all the pass rush, whatever, but it comes down to teams can't run the ball.
Yeah, to maintain clock.
Right.
And what I find more impressive than a lot of things is when you get late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and some team that gets the ball and has a 16-play, 8-minute drive. I'm like, that is what you do to win football games. And you don't see that very often.
And teams have done better. Defenses have adapted. So go to the Jacksonville Chargers game. They try to run the ball. They had a decent amount of runs, but they're getting stuffed because Jaguars like, hey, they're going to try to run this clock out. We need to stop them, force 3 and outs.
Yeah.
And they did. But on the flip side, you have that extension of the running game. You have the bubble screen. You have the middle screen. You have the little quick 5-yard pass. Or, you throw it out there, not even a screen, but hey, they're giving you a 7-yard cushion. You just throw it to them, get me 4 or 5 yards. And like I said, okay, we only got 11 yards, but it's a first down. So there's another minute off the clock. Okay, there's, another 12 yards. We don't need 15, 20 yards because we're not behind, we're ahead. But teams forget that. Like, oh, no, we got to run it up the gut 3 straight times and then punt. Yeah. And the fans will be happy because we ran clock. No, you still went 3 and out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, these teams, I get it's a pass-happy league, but use the pass as an extension of the run and try the short when you have the lead late, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, the best example of a team this weekend that kind of established the run to have some good drives and win a ball game was the Giants beating the Vikings. Now, typically your quarterback's not going to run 16 times like Daniel Jones did. Yeah, he ran like 16 times for 70 yards.
Yeah,
but Saquon Barkley had a great game too. Yeah. The Giants played really well, and they beat. And we called it last week. We said that's how they were going to win. That Saquon was going to have a good game, and that's what happened, and he did.
And again, I don't know who your guys' coach of the year, and just you guys want to go ahead and pick now. To me, it was between Dan Campbell and the Giants coach.
Dabble.
Yeah. Those two, I think, were my front runners. And then I know it's a regular season award, but even after watching that Minnesota game, I'm like, dude, you got to be coach of the year. this team was picked to barely win 4 or 5 games this year, be last in the East behind Washington. Yeah. Daniel Jones, they didn't grab his 5th-year option. He's on his way out. He's not going to be the quarterback of our future. And you're making him look like, if they go on and beat the Eagles, this guy's going to he'll win it next year before the season even starts. Yeah. This is amazing what he has done with the Giants. And the injuries list is way longer than any other team. It is, man, what he has done over there, man, hats off.
Yep.
So Saquon Barkley had 53 yards rushing, averaged almost six yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, but he also had 56 yards passing. So Daniel Jones, was the leading rusher, but when you can throw it around to 6 different guys and then have 4 different rushers, because even Slayton got a rush in, Matt Breida had a couple rushes, but between Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, those guys were unstoppable that day.
And Minnesota's deep isn't that good to begin with. And then if you have them off balance like that, they didn't stand a chance, And I hope these Minnesota fans don't go pitchfork hunting for Kirk Cousins. He had a great game. Granted, that 4th and 8 at the end, you want him to throw it a little bit further, but he had a guy right in his grill, so he's trying to at least get the ball out. But overall, if you look at his numbers, he did not hurt the team. The defense giving up, again, as a Cowboys fan, if we give up 31 points, I'm sorry, you don't expect to win. It's on the defense. You give up 31 points at home in a playoff game, well, it's kind of on you in the defense. Don't be looking at the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback ratings were within just a few points because Kirk Cousins was at 113 and Daniel Jones was at 114. So you're right. You can't let Kirk Cousins shoulder the blame on that one.
Yeah, and the other 2 games that we haven't talked about yet that was last weekend was the Bills and Dolphins and Ravens and Cincinnati, and they were good games. Josh Allen started playing not very good football to let Miami in that game, but the Ravens should have won. The Bengals got so lucky. The Ravens were out total yards 360 to 230. I mean, the Bengals only had 230 yards and won that game.
Yep. And on a side note, back of that Minnesota Giants, they only ran the ball 16 times. And I said that for them to have a chance to beat the Giants, they have to give Dalvin Cook run the ball 20 times. They didn't, and they lost. But so to me, the biggest disappointment in the playoff games was how bad the Bengals and Bills looked to me. Miami had a rookie quarterback, 3rd-string guy that really wasn't even supposed to see the field, but due to injuries, he's thrown in the mix. We didn't give them a chance. They had 7, 8 people that weren't even playing in the game. They're all playing backups that are, hey, look at me next year. And they pushed the Bills. Cincinnati's going against a non-Lamar team, who obviously Lamar team probably beats them. And maybe they were looking past these 2 teams because of all the, like Dallas and the Washington game. Oh, there's no one on the other side. This should be easy, and it wasn't. But this is the playoffs, and you guys almost lost a game that you shouldn't be in. If Miami doesn't throw that pick, they go down and even get a field goal, there's a chance. Same thing with that Ravens. If he doesn't, try to reach for that touchdown and get knocked out of his hands, I don't know if Cincinnati scores again.
Yeah, you didn't need a touchdown there to win that game.
No, you didn't. You're right.
Field goal. Yeah. Field goal would have won the game.
Yep. And I'm saying pulling for Cincinnati, but I'm like, fellas. Yeah. Their defense outplayed yours.
They deserved to lose, but they didn't. So
So 2 teams that got to, now they play each other. So one of the 2 is going to have to right the ship and beat the other one.
Yep.
So Huntley throwing the ball way over there. Again, we have the ability to break all the plays down thanks to replay, but had he taken a step left or right, he could have walked in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you usually try to jump as high as you can and then just stick the ball over. You just try to elevate higher than everybody else and then stick the ball out. He just took the snap and it just seemed like from the 2-yard line, I tried to push the ball forward, and I'm like,
I think he thought he was Trevor
I don't even
Lawrence
think he could
6'4".
have reached that far to break the plane. It just looked. I don't know. It was a weird. It was not good.
Yeah.
He messed up.
Lack of experience.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence did that on a 2-point conversion. I don't know if you guys got to see it.
Yeah, but he's
But he's
6'6".
right?
Yeah.
And he reached it with the palm, breaks the thing. Yeah, and when you see Huntley do it, and you're like, dude, you're not at the goal line.
No.
And even with the replay, I mean, I know Baltimore fans, he broke the plane. Dude, he was like a yard short. It wasn't even close to the goal line.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So, you're right. He had in his head, let me do this. And either he didn't jump like he thought or his foot got stepped on. I don't know. But there was no gain.
Yeah, no elevation, nothing.
Yeah, it was doomed from the start.
I if you guys could see my face right now, I'm smiling ear to ear because I'm that little kid that compares his leaping ability to the amazing Nebraska basketball player Alexis Markowski, who's amazing, gets a lot of rebounds, but somehow only jumps like just a little bit.
Right.
So Huntley, I don't get it, man. You have better wheels than that. You have better wheels than you have springs. So run around end. But what do I know?
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about the upcoming week. You guys ready for that?
Yes.
Yes. And hey, Chiefs beware. Jaguars Chiefs play on a Saturday. And Trevor Lawrence is amazing on Saturdays, apparently. So I'm just saying, 34-0, you don't get there easily. So
yeah.
Jaguars at the Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 8.5, over set at 53, 3:30 Saturday game. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence really close to still being high school age, college age kid. Him and ATN, can they get it done?
Yes, I am. I'm going to pick the upset. I think the Jaguars win in that game the way they did, come back. I think they're going to go in that game very confident. I think the Jaguars defense can do enough to keep the Chiefs offense from scoring their 30, 40 points. And I think the Jaguars will get it done. I mean, you guys done enough podcasts with me. I don't generally pick big upsets like this, but 8.5 points in the NFL, that's a big upset.
That is a big upset.
And I'm taking Jaguars.
Stole my thunder because I thought I was going to be the only guy today.
No, I think this is going to be across the board.
Oh, good. And it's not just because it's a Saturday game, but I 100% agree. Roger nailed it. These guys are playing really good football. They're peaking at the right time. Not saying anything against the Chiefs. They obviously 14 wins. You don't get that easily in the NFL, and they're at home. But this is a young, hungry team. I don't think they care if they're on the road or at home. They bring it. They travel, whatever you want to call it. They bring their full lunchbox, and come halftime, Reed's going to be looking at Mahomes and that defense and be like, fellas, offensively we got to be doing blah, 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 and defensively, what the heck's going on? Man, I really hope it doesn't start off 27-0 against them again, or he throws a couple picks in the first half. And if he needs to play clean football to win this, and that Peterson guy, another quarterback that he has straightened out and, man, hasn't played really good football. So, I like the Jags to win this one also.
So you had your picks for Coach of the Year, and I'm going to say Peterson because this whole turnaround for the Jags, they started really rocky, really rough, and then they're peaking at the end of the year at the right time. I think the Jags are going to win because the Chiefs did have that week off.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going to be a little rusty. The Jags are going to come in. They're on that roller coaster high. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be like a knockout for him. I think it's going to be just like last week where, oh gosh, this is a nail biter to the end. Yeah. Or Kelsey goes off for 57,000 yards and we're all wrong. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. We all know Chiefs can win this game. But the Chiefs lost last year to the Bengals. The Jaguars can watch a little videotape on them and see what the Bengals did to beat them. And like I said, when you play as good as they did in the second half, that carries over into the first half. I think Jaguars come out strong and let Chiefs know that, hey, this is going to be a game. And I don't know if the Chiefs will come back and get them. I think the Jaguars get it done.
Now, supposedly on the injury report, Trevor Lawrence is questionable.
Did you see his finger?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if they ripped off nail or skin or what, but it did not look, it was a pinky.
So Peterson ripped him a new one on the sideline after he scored that rushing touchdown and spiked the ball. Peterson pulled him aside, pointed at his finger, or had a discussion about the finger and like, what are you doing? You already have a hurt digit, and then you want to celebrate and potentially hurt it more? Think about it. We still need you next week.
Fact. Yeah, there you go. Coaching right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm still taking the Jags.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think it's going to bother him much at all. He played pretty well after it was hurt. So
all three of us picked the Jags.
Yeah, so... Oh,
we're going to be, we might potentially be the worst podcast in the world if the Chiefs win.
Hey, so if the Jags win, we're going to be right on top of the mountain, boy.
If Lawrence goes down, you have C.J. Beathard or E.J. Perry.
Give me C.J. Beathard. At least he played for the 49ers. He had some game time under his hat, so...
Okay, for the world's worst broadcast podcast, for all three of us taking the Jags when
the Chiefs win by 30.
Yeah, the Chiefs win by 30. We're going to move on to the next one. The late game on Saturday is the Giants at the Eagles. So the Eagles are favored by 7.5. Overs are set at 48. Weather, potentially always a factor in Philly this time of year. Weather could be a factor in Kansas City. It's something we didn't touch on. Man, right out of the gate, I'm still on board with the Giants, and I feel. Go ahead, James. Go ahead. I won't steal your thunder. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree, and I didn't think about the Chiefs being off because they've had bye weeks before, but Philly doesn't play great football coming towards the end, so everybody's they'll be rested and healthy. But I think rest really hurts this Philly team. Giants are running a high. Obviously, Philly beat them both times during the season. We know that. And, pretty good. I just think my coach of the year is going to come out, make the right adjustments. Daniel Jones, like I said, might not have to run the ball 15 times, but just running it 10 keeps Philly on their toes. Maybe they have to leave a spy and watch him. So now he has another guy not covered or not doubled, So yeah, I totally agree. I like the Giants in this game. I said it last week that this could be that wild card team that goes to the Super Bowl out of nowhere, playing at the right, like the Jaguars, not necessarily peaking, but playing really good football at the right time. And they're getting a Philadelphia team that might be coming in thinking, we've already beat these guys twice. We're okay. We got this. And the wake up call is, going into halftime and it's, 17-0.
Philly was the last opponent for the Giants in the regular season. And that's the last game Philly played. And they won that 22-16. The last time they met up was in New York, and they just annihilated them by 48-22. So again, Rodgers claimed that we might be the stupidest podcast because I'm picking the Giants again, but I don't know. Roger, what do you think?
No, I'm not picking the Giants.
He doesn't like the Giants.
No. The Eagles defense is good, and the Eagles defense will make the Giants throw the ball, and we know that the Giants and the wide receivers there are not that good. Eagles get this game done, and they get it done pretty easy, I think.
All right. Pretty easy. I honestly think you're 100% correct, but I just... Man, I don't know. For the Eagles to win, it's the easier way to the Super Bowl. For the Giants, it reminds me of when Eli Manning did it when they're the wild card. Mm-hmm. And it can be done. And Roger's giving me this smirk like you're so full of crap right now. But stranger things have happened. Yep. I mean, they held it within 6 points the last game. So
right.
I think it can be done.
And one thing we haven't mentioned is the over-unders. And I remember last week we were looking at them and they're all in the low 40s. And we're like, okay, a couple weeks said unders. But for football fans, all them games were on the overs. All them games had scoring. We didn't see like last year, the 13-10, the 16-7 games. It was nice to see teams put up 20-plus points, So I again, this week, I hope it's the same thing. I hope these over-unders are low. they're all 46, 48. The Jaguars Chiefs is 53. I think that's high, but again, I hope I'm wrong, and these teams are scoring 24, 30 points all weekend.
Look at how these two teams played most recently, 22-16. Again, I don't bet, but if I had to throw a penny on this to bet a wager, I would take the unders. I'm sorry, I almost said overs. I would take the unders, but I don't know. Sunday's 2 p.m. game, Bengals Bills, rematch of the game that didn't happen.
Yep.
Rematch of the game that cost Zach Taylor the chance to win the AFC outright. A few things were decided by a coin flip, and now they have to play again.
Now, if they play that game and Bengals beat the Bills were number 1 seed or not. I mean, she still had it.
They still needed the Chiefs to win, but this game right now would be playing at Cincinnati. If they would have finished that game did not finish,
right, so
and they were up 7-3.
That's the significance of that game.
Right.
Okay.
So now instead of being played in Cincinnati, it's being played in Buffalo.
Okay.
So
yep.
Buffalo's favored 5.5. Overs are set at 48.
Yep. I think we're far enough away from the Hamill injury that the emotions, when they first get on there might be a lot of hugs and a lot of, hey, I'm glad your guy's all good. But once it kicks off, I don't think they're right. It's been a few weeks now, and he's doing good. He's at the facilities every day. They said they talk to him all the time. He's hanging out with the team, which is huge. So I don't think that's going to be a factor. To me, like I said, it was two teams that played like mediocre last week. They played it like a regular season game. Let's just get through this ugly win. I'm going to pick Cincinnati because it's my son's favorite team. And, I love Josh Allen as a quarterback. They got Cole Beasley, so I'm a big fan of, the Bills also. But I'll pick Cincinnati, Zach Taylor to get it upset and right the ship on this one.
Roger?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Bills. The Bills defense last week gave up 30 points to the Dolphins, which is crazy. If they play like that again, they will lose. But then again, the Bengals offense did not play very good last week either. If they play like that, they'll lose. So this game here is kind of hard to pick. We both know how good. We all know how good both teams are. I'm going to say Bills at home, and I will pick Bills because I don't think Josh Allen has 2 bad games in a row. I think he plays well. I think Bills defense plays well. I'm going to take the Bills, and I'll even take them to cover.
I'm going the other way. Just looking at the numbers, the Bengals defense is what gets it done. They hold people to 17 points, and that's exactly what the Baltimore Ravens had last week. And they played the Ravens basically twice or back-to-back. The final game of the season, they held them to 16. The next game, they held them to 17. New England, they held them to 18. Tampa Bay, well, it's Tom Brady. He can put up points. They held them to 23. And then Cleveland, 10. So I think this is going to go way over the overs. I think both of the quarterbacks are going to figure it out. But for some reason, I think the Bengals defense just makes one more stop. And that's why I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah. Now, I honestly would like to see the Bengals win this game. I'm taking the Bills, but of course, if we're all wrong about the Chiefs Jaguars, if the Chiefs win, I would love to see them play Bengals again. I would love to see Joe Burrow go 4-0 against the Chiefs. Wouldn't that be unbelievable?
Oh.
It's already unbelievable that he's 3-0 against.
Yeah. Exactly, right? Yeah. And when you look at the two and you ask somebody, don't even tell them that part. Just say, hey, you get to start an NFL team. Do you want Mahomes or do you want Joe Burrow? I'm guessing 8 out of 10 are picking Mahomes to start your team as an NFL.
If not all 10. Yeah.
Right. So, but then you look at it, you're like, oh, by the way, you realize that Joe's never lost to Mahomes. What? What? Yeah. So Yeah, that is crazy. And like I like where Darryl went with that. I think the defense, obviously Cincinnati, if anything, has to step up big time. That defense has to keep them in the game until Burrow and that offense clicks and all of a sudden rolls off 3 straight scoring drives. So
the Sunday late game, and that is the Cowboys at the Niners. Niners are favored by 4. Overs are set at 46. What do you guys think about this guy?
I love it. So you have the 2 of the best NFC teams ever as far as championships, conference championships, Super Bowls, NFC, obviously, because Patriots have 7. But as far as the NFC goes, Shanahan said it correctly. This rival is probably one of the best in the NFC, except when you don't meet in the playoffs very often, it kind of fades out a little bit, But here we are back. They played last year. That whole, did you spike it in time, last second, whatever. The Cowboys coming off that big win we talked about earlier where the Dak and the offense looked great. Kellen Moore finally, like I said, those first 2 drives, we didn't talk about it in the recap, but those first 2 drives the Cowboys came out. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I know you're at work. Were horrible. We're just plain vanilla. Let's see what we got. And they were getting roadblocked and punt, 3 and out, punt, 3 and out. On the flip side, Dallas defense, same thing. Brady hit 1 pass for first down, and then it was punt, punt, punt. I don't know if McCarthy pulled Kellen Moore off on the side or if something was said in a headphone, but whatever was said, come that 3rd drive, and it was a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, and Dak rolls out to the left, gets the first down. He's one where he dove forward, gets the first down. And after that, 2 plays later, they score their first touchdown, and it's like 3-4 in a row. I think that's what this is going to come down to. Early, it's going to be a couple stalemates, defense feeling each other out, doing their thing. Dak is going to have to make that one play where the offense is like, okay, we're going to click. On the injury side, Jason Peter, who they started off at left tackle, 40-year-old old guy, is questionable. But they kicked Tyler Smith back out to the left, moved McGovern back in at guard, and all of a sudden the run game came turned on, and they started getting those yards with Pollard and everything. So I haven't seen, last I read, Peters didn't practice yesterday. So I don't know about today. I don't know if they go with that offensive line set up and try to run the ball more. But you have a 49ers team giving up 104 yards rushing and a Dallas team giving up 52. So if Dallas can get 80, 90 yards rushing on the 49ers this weekend, it's going to be huge. And on the flip side, I know you guys like the Niners and Purdy, but his games, Seattle, Washington, Vegas in overtime, Arizona, and then Seattle. Again, the only playoff team out of all those is Seattle, and they were, right at 500. So
you can get numbers to say anything. So with the Cowboys allowing 52 yards rushing per game. Okay, so you had Tampa Bay, horrible rushing team.
Yes.
Washington, horrible rushing team. Tennessee Titans should have a great rushing attack. Didn't show up. Philadelphia, they were without Jalen Hurts. And Jacksonville beat them in overtime through the air. So again,
but they have Etienne, who runs 100 yards a game.
I know.
And Philly has a 100-yard rusher a game in Sanders, and Dallas has taken away. And by the way, Van Der Esch is back from injury. So when we had talked about, I said move Parsons back to that middle linebacker with Van Der Esch out. Van Der Esch played Sunday, so that's a huge move in the run defense. Yeah, McCaffrey, I think he's gonna have a long day. I don't think McCaffrey sees 100 yards.
The Cowboys defense is definitely not the Seahawks defense.
Oh, no.
But they're also playing in hostile territory, San Francisco. So I'm taking the Cowboys just because I'm a homer. I know why you're taking the Cowboys, because you want it to happen and you're a homer. I get it. So let's have a voice of reason. Roger, what's going on?
He's been singing 49ers since week 4.
I know. And I think the 49ers actually come in and punch them squarely in the nose, and they have another game like they did last week and win 41-23. But I'm still standing by my pick just because I want to have Dak have at least a chance at the Super Bowl when Tony Romo didn't.
Yeah, 49ers. That second half of that Seattle game is the team that you're going to see against this Cowboys team. like I said, I'm not taking anything really away from that Cowboys win against Tampa. I think Tampa was, I said Miami was probably the worst team going into the playoffs because, of course, Tampa has Tom Brady, but I think that Tampa team was the worst. So I'm not taking too much out of that Cowboys win. And like I said, the 49ers, that second half, they dominated, and I think they go into this game and they beat the Cowboys pretty easily.
I hope you're wrong, but I feel that you're probably 100% correct because 49ers have all the weapons. Yeah. That Swiss Army knife, McCaffrey.
Yeah, we keep saying that Purdy's, he's a third string quarterback or backup quarterback, whatever you want to call him, but he's playing good. He's not turning the ball over. He's playing good.
McCaffrey didn't play the whole season with them, but he's already amassed 746 yards, 6 touchdowns. And don't forget, he can do the halfback pass as well. Why do I say that? Because I bet we see it. I bet we see all the trick plays coming up.
Oh, you're going to have to with the Dallas defense. And like both of them, I think it's the same thing where you need to use their aggressiveness against them. Have them bite on a couple pass routes, have them bite on a couple play actions, or, you get that quick screen behind them as the defense tries to rush up for that quick sack. Yeah, you're going to have to use the momentum against them and try to get that big play.
Yeah. I think it's going to be great games all across the board. All across the board, Saturday and Sunday. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think we are. Like I said, last week's games were. You couldn't ask for a better weekend of NFL football.
Oh no, you really couldn't.
Yeah, those were great games.
They kept you glued in your seat. Like, I don't even want to go to commercial. Just keep showing the highlights of what just happened.
Yeah.
And what's with these start times? Sunday's at 2:00, and then the next one's at 5:30. What? Is there something going on at noon on Sunday I don't know about in the world of sports? Some kind of voting, or is there a golf tournament? I'm really confused at the 2:00 start time for Sunday's Bengals-Bills.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so 2:00 Central would be 3:00 their time. Who knows? Maybe they looked at some weather reports. Maybe they looked at ratings and say these are the best times for ratings. I honestly don't know.
It's just weird.
Maybe it gives them an extra couple hours to plow all the snow off the field.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be. I mean, it's Buffalo. You never know.
Oh, so we did the college basketball. So 2002, today, in 2002 in sports history, is the Tuck game. Is when the whole Brady, they were down 13-10. And am I passing it or am I trying to tuck it to run? And he not fumbles. Raiders recovered it. Charles Woodson, where the game could have been over. And obviously they said no, it was an incomplete pass. And the Patriots going to win 16-13. So, yeah, this day in history is the new tuck rule. And thank goodness for replay where is his hand going forward?
Yeah. Well, is that not the worst? The worst call of all time. I mean,
and the Raiders have never recovered.
No, they haven't, and I don't. That's just a weird call. Tuck rule.
We'll finish up our football with one more Tom Brady quote. I'm not a person who defends myself very often. I kind of let my actions speak for me. And now you get to go on vacation earlier.
Yep.
So we're going to look at the NBA. We got some Thursday games. We got some Friday games. But last night, Rogers Hawks were on the road and defeated a potential MVP candidate in Luka Doncic in Dallas. And Trae Young wasn't even the high scorer. It was DeJounte Murray with 30. Luka Doncic ended with 30. I didn't get to see all of it, but I tried to. There was so much stuff on last night. Husker ladies, Huskers men, this Atlanta-Dallas game. Tried to get ready for this, write some notes, video games. It was all going on last night. But your Hawks, with that win, are now 23-22. It's a few weeks before the February 7th trade deadline. And DeJounte Murray is really starting to come into his own.
Yeah, I think they got, 4 wins in a row now? I think they were 19-22, so I think they got 4 wins. So.
Yeah, 4 straight. They lost to Milwaukee and have won 4 straight since.
Yep.
Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat, Toronto Raptors, and the Indiana Pacers, and they lost a close one to the Bucks in Milwaukee. Prior to that one loss to Milwaukee, they also beat a very talented Clippers team. Timberwolves, Denver, also last night game. What a machine Jokic is.
I'm telling you, he's going to get it 3 years in a row. He's going to be right there with Larry Bird,
Triple-double.
Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain.
11 rebounds, 13 assists, and 31 points.
He's like second or third in the league in assist. I think he's tied with Trae Young for second. And then that Indiana player's, I think it's an Indiana player that leads the league in assist. But yeah.
Just think if he didn't whine about a call and he just got down the field most of the time.
Yeah. Ain't that something?
25 points a game, that's 16th. 11 rebounds a game, that's 5th. Almost 10 rebounds a game, that's 2nd. And he's shooting close to 63%.
Well, he should. He's inside the paint. He should just be dunking it.
I know.
But I know he shoots from the outside and everything, but you're right. No, he is a machine right now. And
Jokic is shooting 63% from the field.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
That's impressive.
Very. Yeah, talk about a complete player, and I love Giannis, and I think I would start my team with Giannis 8 out of 10 times over Joke, but he every night I see his stat line. And again, another 30-point triple-double last night, 2 in a row now. I'm just like, dude, you're a center, and you're doing stuff that point guards, this is like beyond Jason Kidd territory, Magic Johnson territory. You know, I'm like
50% of the time he dribbles it up the court himself.
Right.
Which
and
blows
no one
me
takes it from him.
Right. That blows me away that no one comes up and guards him.
Oh, take it from him.
Okay, so you said he does shoot outside 3-point. Yeah, he's shooting 37% from behind the arc as a 6'11" guy who can rip the rebound right out of your skull.
I have no idea what his off-season regimen is, but I love the fact that he has won the MVP 2 years in a row. And he's not just playing off of that, like, just give me my calls. You know who I am. He is still playing some of the best basketball of anybody in the NBA right now.
All right. Enough talking about the Serbian ruler on the court. 6:30 TNT game on Thursday. We have the 500 Warriors at the 33-12 Celtics. Celtics are favored 5.5. If the Celtics let the Warriors beat them at home, like the Warriors beat them the first game of the season, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but how is it Kerr can somehow let his team just be so dysfunctional on the road this season and that win just about every single home game? I don't get it.
Yeah.
They did win at Washington last night, so that was a good one for them. And they won so this was the TNT or is it ESPN? I forget what game. The San Antonio game was a primetime game. I'm like, you put Golden State up against a very boring San Antonio team. It was a 30-point blowout. I'm like, this was your nationally televised pick of the game? Really? This is what you put?
So that was their Alamo Dome game, and they tried to bring back history of when San Antonio played in the Alamo Dome, and in doing so, they wanted to break the NBA attendance record, which they did at 68,000.
Yes, but
granted, it wasn't about two great teams. It was about the pomp and circumstance that is NBA and the tradition where the Spurs started in a huge stadium, a dome, the Alamo Dome, and they decided to celebrate that. And then the Warriors came in and just rattled off 144 points.
Yeah.
So
the big thing, though, is Brown's hamstring. Last I saw, he's still listed as questionable. As of yesterday, they didn't know if he was going to play tonight. I'm looking, and I don't see... He's averaging 23 and 6, but it doesn't say if he's playing tonight. So I don't know if Brown plays tonight. He's missed the last couple games. Right now,
he's out.
He's day to day. Okay, is he out for tonight?
Yeah, ESPN shows him as being out.
Okay.
I don't have the full injury report in front of me, but overs are set at 225, and the Celtics favored by 5.5. And if the Celtics play team ball, they'll be great. If the Celtics come out and play Jason Tatum ball, and I'm not going to pass it much, they won't. But as long as you get White, as long as you get your least favorite Williams.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Grant.
If they get Brogdon, and Brogdon's just come alive.
He has.
They're going to do it.
Yep.
They're not going to shut them. They're not going to. The Warriors are not going to shut down the Celtics. So
no.
I'm taking the Celtics to get it done at home just for the fact that the Warriors embarrassed them in San Francisco. So they better do it. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah. And the good news, this game's at 6:30, so there's a good chance when I go to lunch tonight, it's not going to be at halftime.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance. Andre Iguodala is out for the Warriors. Kuminga is out for the Warriors. JaMychal Green's out for the Warriors, and so is the Wiseman. So those are, for me, 4 reasons why the Celtics should get it done, because they have a longer bench.
Yep. I think they get it done. Warriors, I seen the Warriors were at the White House. You said they played Washington on the road?
Yeah.
So they were in Washington, D.C. Okay. That's why they
they did a Martin Luther King thing and tour and all that stuff while they're there. It was a planned thing to kind of like when they went to Washington,
Yeah. I just seen that, and then I'm like, well, if they're playing last night and tonight, I mean, what time, or how did they have time to go? But if they were in Washington, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what time the Warriors game was, but the Celtics game on MLK Day was an earlier, I want to say 11 o'clock start maybe or something, against the Charlotte Hornets. And the Charlotte Hornets ended up having to play the Celtics back-to-back at home, and the Celtics took both of them.
Weird scheduling there.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of that this season. Yes. I've noticed that they'll stay in town for 2 games at the same thing, or they'll play 3 games and 2 of them will be with the same team because they're all in the same area.
Yeah.
But Celtics are on a roll.
Yeah. Another good game tonight right after that one is your Nets Suns. Suns haven't played great. Obviously, the Nets are without Durant for a little bit more. Suns are at home. They got to right the ship. I mean, I don't know if Booker's back tonight also, but they need this win, sitting 3 games below 500, coming in as a Western Conference top dog, or at least a top 3 team. They definitely need to wake up tonight on national television at home.
The Nets are favored by 1.5 on the road without Durant, so Vegas doesn't feel that they are going to get it done, and the overs are at 220.5. For me, the Nets keep getting better without Durant because their supporting cast has to step up. I honestly see the Nets just handily taking care of the Suns in Phoenix.
Were you choosing your words correctly over there?
I was trying.
Politically correct.
I was trying because I was writing, and my brain doesn't like to write and talk at the same time.
Well, Brooklyn has lost 3 of their last 5. They lost to Boston, OKC, and they lost at San Antonio, not even scoring 100 points. So, again, I know I'm the one that keeps talking down on Brooklyn, and Durant's, top 5 player of the NBA, but I don't think Brooklyn's that good. I think they win some games here and there, but for overall, when it comes down to the East, they won't be a factor come playoff time. I mean, United, I get it, Durant's out, but you didn't even score 98 points against a San Antonio team that everyone scores 110 on, So you got to show up. Every week, hey, our star's not here, but guess what? Like you said, the benches need to step up, start playing better basketball. Do you become a better team or not? And I don't think Brooklyn's doing it.
So you mentioned the Nets game against the OKC Thunder. And I want to point out that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finished that game with 28 points. And then one of the other starters, Giddey, had 28. Dort had 22. And Kyrie Irving didn't even get to 20. He had 15.
Thank you.
But Seth Curry off the bench had 23. So at what point do you say, hey, Kyrie, let's bring you off the bench? Which then really throws a wrench in the whole Nets organization.
As soon as he came back from that suspension.
Yeah, he's going to pout and then go and find some political activist thing to do and say, oh, I can't be with the team for personal reasons.
Yeah. That game right there, OKC shot 38% from threes to the Nets 29. Free throws, 20 of 26, 12 of 19. So we talk about how important free throws were. Miami went 40 for 40. Nets go 12 of 19. That's terrible. 63%. So, the rebounds, all that was right there. But the difference is you're not playing defense, having open shots. But when you got free throws, you make that 18 of 19, 6 more points, you're in the game and a chance at the end. So even the freebies that they're given, they're not making them. So,
for the Suns, this is a must win because you're 21 and 24. For the Nets, they're 27 and 16. They can afford a loss, but I don't know.
And this is their first game this season together. Nice to see a nice, healthy Phoenix team, see what they can do. So we'll have to see.
Chris Paul is still out. Shamet's still out. Jay Crowder, I don't know if he ever even reported to the team. They're still considering him out.
Right.
But we'll see what happens at trade deadline for that one. Roger, any thoughts on that game?
I just noticed the Suns' record, and they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, or
yeah they are.
Yeah.
They're starters. Yeah, he said Paul and Booker are the biggest two, and I know Booker hasn't played in 3 games at least.
Booker's potentially back tonight, but Paul's still out, which is huge.
Yep.
I just don't see him getting it done. I see the Nets just coming into Phoenix and stopping them. Looking at Friday's game. So the Warriors have a back-to-back. They play at Boston Thursday. Friday, they're at Cleveland. So there's a lot of travel in there, and it's a night game. So start at 6:30 in Boston, finish at, let's say, 9. Get out of the arena at 10, get on a flight at 11, 12.
Short flight.
Midnight. Right, short flight, but you don't get to your destination.
2-3 in the morning.
Right. You get maybe a couple hours of sleep. You got to text all the ladies and your friends and get all your video games in, and you get 3-4 hours of sleep. You get a little bit of Holiday Inn breakfast, and then you get the Cavs.
Yeah. It's one that I say about basketball. Football, you need that week preparation when you have to let your body heal, but then you have to go over the game plan, this plan, blah, blah, blah. In basketball, you just pick what play that, the team, hey, they're going to run this kind of defense. These are the plays. You mostly do walkthroughs and shoot arounds, and that doesn't hurt you at all. Your body, you're just trying to loosen up here and there. So it's funny how the NBA can do these back-to-backs, and they try to get away from them because of minute managements. And I'm wondering, come this Cleveland game, if a minutes management / we're going to rest him because his quad is a little stiff today. If any of them sit, it's a Cleveland game.
That could totally happen. And the Cavs are sitting right now, well, as of today, 28 and 18. And then Golden State, they're either going to have a win or a loss at Boston. So a 500 team and then a Cavs team sitting at 28 and 18. I hate to say, you never know what the Warriors are going to do. The Warriors could come in and blow you out. Or the Warriors could come in and just have a fight in the locker room and no one wants to play together.
Yeah. The Golden State still has the talent to win these games. It's just whatever reason, the road woes, whatever. But again, Cleveland, don't sleep on this team, even though if they lose to Boston and they come in limping or whatever, because they can wake up at any time. So if I'm Cleveland, you need to go in, guns blazing, bring that A game and blow them out of your own building. Send a message.
I hope the Cavs get it done. I'm rooting for Jarrett Allen. That kid's amazing.
Yeah.
Tuesday game. Why would I want to talk about the Tuesday game, James?
We got a little Celtics Heat action.
Yeah.
Yep. Before that, the Heat play the Mavs on Friday. And I know you guys are high on Doncic.
Luka Doncic?
Doncic, yeah. But I think the team has taken his mentality their defense has really went downhill last few games. So they're giving up points, giving up 130, giving up 130. And I want to say they're taking on his identity of let's try to outscore them and, play decent defense, but not in your face. And you've got to rally around their superstar and you watch him play like that, in the Bulls and Michael Jordan was going to lock you down. So the rest of the team, he held accountable. But how does Luka hold anyone accountable on their team if he's not locking anyone down? LeBron's not going to lock anyone down. How's he hold anyone accountable? So these teams that these superstars are on, Kevin Durant, I'm going to play good defense. I'm going to kind of stay in front of you. But if I'm another player, I'm like, dude, you don't lock anybody down. What are you calling me out for?
That's interesting because they are in a 3-game skid.
Yeah.
So are the rest of the team in Dallas going, we think you're a selfish poo-poo? You're a poopy head?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to play D, I don't have to play D, which is a horrible mentality to have. I get it. But yeah, if they're not, if the locker room's not all on the same page, you can get that.
Okay, the last 3 games that they lost, Atlanta scored 130. Portland scored 140. And they had back-to-backs with Portland. Portland scored 136.
There you go, 130s, yeah. So
even the game they took to overtime, they allowed the Lakers 115.
Yep. So, yeah, I hope the Heat go into Dallas and put up 130, 125 and win that game. Keep the East on top. They're very similar in records, 25-21, 24-22. But, yeah, before the Heat meet up with Boston, they got to go into Dallas, and that would be a nice little check for them.
Right. And Bam Adebayo is the Heat's leading scorer. He's averaging a little over 21 points a game, almost 22. He's also their leading rebounder at 10. And then Kyle Lowry leads the team in assists per game at 5.6. So I don't know if it's the Heat waiting for the All-Star break to really kick into gear, maybe see who they can get, but they're not really showing a whole lot as of yet because they're just hovering around 25 and 21.
Yeah, there were a couple of games you're like, oh my gosh, they're starting to find it. Then you have a couple of losses and you're like, oh, okay, is this the regular Heat? Yeah, they're tough to get a feel for right now.
They've looked unstoppable in games and in other games, kind of like the Mavs. The Mavs have looked unstoppable in games and in other games you're just, wow, what did you guys have for breakfast?
Right. But yeah, the Celtics Heat game, 6:30 on TNT. So another primetime build for the Boston Celtics fans. I don't know. So that's a Tuesday. So yeah, I'll be at work. And again, it won't be halftime when I go to lunch. So I'm excited.
All right, now's the time for some final thoughts. And there was a historic NHL road series that happened recently. The Seattle Kraken created NHL history. They were on the road and took all 7 road games. And that has never happened before.
13 days.
Right. And I didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, when you start looking at hockey, you have some teams that go on fire. The back in the Detroit Red Wing days, the Colorado Avalanche or Patrick Roy were some of the most unstoppable teams that I can remember. But to go to a 7-game win streak and not win, and that to never happen. And then when I saw that Seattle Kraken did, I was like, oh my, wow, that's huge.
And for an upstart, a team that hasn't been in the league very often, and they all of a sudden make NHL history.
Yep.
I found amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at a little bit of the hockey standings after you sent that, and I noticed Boston Bruins are continuing to maintain a pretty good lead in their division. Some of the other divisions are kind of getting closer, but Boston's playing real well. They did lose. They did finally lose a home game in regulation, though. I seen that. That's the first time they lost in regulation at home. But yeah, they still have like an 11-point lead. And then that Connor McDavid, he's still leading the league in assists and goals, playing real well. It's pretty impressive. And then Ovechkin, I think he's at 810 goals. So he's on pace to hit his 50 goals this year. And then, like I said, next year, if he comes back and scores around 50, we'll see history the following year. He'll still be less than 40 years old and break Wayne Gretzky's record. But yeah, he continues to score at a pretty good rate. So, yep.
That's amazing to be in a sport where you're literally in a car accident every 15 seconds on the ice. I mean, at least you're close to some sort of ice, so you can ice it down. You just lay down, but you sprint on skates for the entire game, depending on how many times you're on the ice. But that's one heck of a record. 810 goals so far by Alex Ovechkin. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I sent you a text, and I'm pointing to James. I sent you a text earlier this week about what Jason Tatum did. Do you remember what that text was?
I do not. No.
Okay. Jason Tatum is in rarefied air because he actually has passed Larry Bird for an all-time seconds record. And that is the amount of times he scored at least 50.
Right.
And that's huge for the young kid. So Larry Bird did it 4 in his career, and Tatum's not even 30.
Already.
And he's hit 5 50-point games. So I thought that was huge.
Yeah. Now just bring me a ring.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what Larry Bird's saying.
Right.
Okay, so to do that in my mind, that the probability of that is really low. And the reason I say that is last year you had a brand new coach who's not even with the team at the moment.
Right.
So this year we already have a brand new coach who's even younger than Ime.
And who has to get his feet wet all over again obviously they're going to be in the playoffs and make the adjustments and go through the rigor of the East and then go to the championship if he gets there. Yeah. And so you need a Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart to help lead that team and go, hey, he hasn't been here, but we have, so this is where, Tatum and them can take over the team, do it,
If he doesn't get coach of the year, and I don't even care if he gets bounced in the first round for having to deal with all that front end drama that Ime dropped on his plate, I don't know what it takes to get coach of the year. Yeah. But any other final parting thoughts? Go ahead.
Speaking of the Celtics, Chris Ford passed away yesterday at 74. Long time, played for the Celtics, obviously, coaching them. But he hit the first three-pointer in the NBA when it became an official shot. He actually hit the first three-pointer in the NBA. So I thought that was very interesting. And unfortunately did pass away yesterday at 74.
Yeah, I read that. I didn't read the article. Roger?
Yeah, I'll just go back to the NFL and talk about the ages of the quarterbacks. Dak Prescott is the oldest quarterback in the playoffs right now.
Isn't that crazy?
29 years old. So, yeah.
One final Vince Lombardi quote, and thanks for hitting me with that football segue. Vince Lombardi said, leaders aren't born, they're made. And they're made just like anything else through hard work. And that's the price we'll have to pay to achieve that goal, or any goal. Oh, also one last one from Vince Lombardi. If you get into the end zone, act as if you've been there before.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
And yet no one, it's their first touchdown every time they get there.
But Barry Sanders was boring.
Oh, I know. Why do you just hand the ball to the ref?
Yeah. One of the most iconic and electrifying running backs. And then when he would get into the end zone, he'd just hand it to the ref.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, and go sit down.
Right. I do this all the time, by the way.
And run to the bench.
Yeah.
Not lollygag or act like he's hurt. And he just...
Yep. Jerry Rice was another one. He just kind of here. I'm going to be here all day, by the way, so just take this.
Yeah. Twice as many as the next best player in the game.
Right.
Blue Collar Sports Talk in Lincoln, Nebraska tells everybody to be safe and warm on those icy roads today. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Folks,
Thank you, people.
Yeah. Folks, thanks for listening.
See ya.